The lessons I learned from doing my first ever bodybuilding show. Man, what a journey it was. It was full of ups, it was full of downs, good times and bad times. We're gonna get into the weeds of everything I learned so that you can learn from my experience in your bodybuilding journey. So first and foremost, I want to start off with the decision to do a bodybuilding show. Like, what inspired me to do this? Why would I even do one in the first place? Well, if you watched the channel before, you've probably heard me talk about my bucket list. I'm a true believer of having a bucket list and knocking items off of that list as you age. So I tend to like to put challenges on my bucket list. So last year I did an Ironman, so I did that, knocked that off the list. So this year I decided I was gonna do a bodybuilding show. I already was working out, lifting weights, and I liked that part of it. So I decided, hey, what better way to challenge myself than to do a bodybuilding show? And that it did. It challenged me super, super hard, and it was harder than what I expected. We'll just leave it at that. Honestly, going into it, I really didn't have that many fears. I already was doing the workouts. Like, I knew I had that part down pat. The only part that I was worried about was the diet, the eating right all the time. And I underestimated how hard it was going to be. I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to get tough, but it was really hard. Like, I'm being honest. Like, I got mad respect for bodybuilders after doing this show. People that do this like for a living, or they do it a lot. And especially if you do it for fun. Like, if you do bodybuilding shows for fun, hey, shout out to you, man, because you're legit. Because that junk is not easy. And if anybody ever tries to tell you it's easy, it's not. They're lying. It's hard. Now, I am a natural athlete, so I did do this natural, which, in my opinion, I think it was probably a little harder doing it natural than doing it enhanced. But I'm still not going to take anything away from anybody doing it enhanced. Like, it's still very hard to do, whether you're natural or enhanced. I still think it's pretty tough and very, very demanding. You have to have super good discipline, and you just gotta want it. Like, you gotta want it. First things first. First thing I learned is that you absolutely need to hire a coach. You need to. Do you have to? No. There's plenty of people that coach themselves. But if it's your first show, or even your first couple ones, even if you're an expert, I still highly, highly recommend getting a coach. It just makes it that much easier. You don't have to worry about programming your workouts. You don't have to worry about managing your diet. None of that. You literally just listen to what your coach does. Your coach does all the hard work, and you just follow the plan. Literally just follow it to a T. That's what I did. My coach literally laid out every single meal that I was supposed to eat day in and day out, and I just ate that. I didn't make no excuses. I didn't tell him to change none. I just said, hey, that's the meal. I'm gonna pre-make it. I'm gonna meal prep it, and I'm gonna eat it. And that's what I did. And it was super, super simple. And I think it helped having somebody else there to give you like that second opinion. Because when you're looking at yourself, you don't always see the good and the bad. You know, you don't always see it because you're a little biased because it's yourself and you're looking in the mirror. So when you have the other person looking at you that knows what they're doing, most of the time they're going to have a better understanding of what you need to do. Whether you need to eat more, eat less, do more cardio, whatever that may be, they're going to have a little more, they're going to have an unbiased opinion because they're looking at you from their perspective. They're not biased because it's not them. And they should have experience. They should know what to look for. They should know what they're doing. So it's going to help you out. Like, it's going to help you for sure. The only downside to hiring a coach is it is a little expensive. But I'm be honest, y'all, straight up, bodybuilding, it was expensive. Like, to do the show, everything in, like, it was expensive. Way more expensive than I thought it was going to be. It was even more expensive than doing my Ironman. It was, with the coach and all that involved. So it is expensive. Just know that going in. But if it's something you want to do, then hey, I think it's worth it. At least try it one time. Don't just not try it because you think it's going to be too expensive. You can do it, I promise. But yeah, hire a coach. It just makes everything that much easier. Like, you don't have to worry about stuff. And two, during this time, you're going to be stressed out. You're going to be tired. You may be a little sore. You're not going to want to do all like your posing and things. So it's best to just have somebody there in your corner, rooting you on, helping you out the best you can. I highly recommend it. Like, I couldn't have done it without a coach for sure. Because one, I didn't know enough about bodybuilding. But two, like, I probably would have gave up because it got hard. But I knew that I was paying my coach every month a pretty good amount of money, and I wasn't gonna let that go to waste. Like, I wasn't gonna let all my money go to waste. So I stuck to it, and I'm glad I did. It was worth it in the end. If you can afford a coach, I definitely would get one. And if you can't afford one, then maybe you should readjust where you're spending some money somewhere else and kind of reallocate that to get you a coach, because it's going to help you out so much. Like, you're going to wish you had a coach at the end. Like there's no way I would have got as lean as I did without a coach. I just wouldn't have, because I probably wouldn't have pushed myself that far. Like when I got down to super low food, like I probably would have been eating more than that if I'd have just done it on myself, because I didn't really know what I was doing. But my coach had experience, knew what I needed to do, and he told me, and I did it, followed it to a T, and I got pretty lean. Get you a coach. That's lesson number one. Also, like getting a coach is also going to help you build that solid foundation. So you want to build a solid foundation when you're doing this. You want to have a well-structured plan. So your coach is going to help you with your workouts, your diet, your posing, all that, everything that goes in between. He's going to know what exercises you need to do, what muscle groups to hit, and he's going to know how to progressively overload so that you're training properly to put on the muscle that you need to put on. So can't go wrong with hiring a coach. Number two, and I can't really put this one into one thing I learned, but this is just kind of like a group. But I learned a ton about nutrition and supplements. I'm not going to narrow it down to just one specific thing. I'm going to keep nutrition and supplements as a broad topic, but I learned so much about food, how they affect your body, when to eat them, when not to eat them. Like I never timed my meals specifically for my workouts. I always eat throughout the day, but like my coach wanted me eating certain meals like a certain time during the day. Like he wanted me to eat a pre-workout meal like an hour before my workout, or give or take, whatever that may be. He wanted me to eat a post-workout meal, and then I eat 6 times throughout the day. I had 6 meals a day. But he was very specific about eat this meal before you work out, eat this meal after you work out. And then I would have high carb days, low carb days. I would have a refeed week. You know what I'm saying? I would do different things. So I learned a lot about manipulating my diet to also manipulate my training. So depending on what you're doing with your training and how you look that week, you will manipulate your diet a little bit. So I'm not gonna get super in the weeds of what I was doing specifically, but just know I learned a lot about when to eat carbs, when not to eat carbs, how many carbs to eat. So if you're out there and you think carbs are the enemy, they're not the enemy. Use them to your advantage. They're gonna help fuel your workouts. You need the carbs to fuel your workouts. They're gonna help you out more than they're gonna hurt you probably, unless you're just abusing them. But yeah, I took a lot more supplements during this period than I normally do. Normally the only supplements I take is pre-workout, creatine, and whey protein. So I was taking a lot more vitamins than I usually do. I even took some fat burners too, which I know those are kind of controversial, but that's what my coach wanted me doing. So I did it and they worked out, to be honest with you. So I don't know what it would have looked like if I didn't take them, but hey, I used them. I got lean. So I just went with it. It worked for me. I'm not telling you to do that, but do what your coach says. That's what I would do. When it came to my meals, I had no clue how much to eat, when to eat it. So he taught me a lot about how much nutrients my body actually needed. Talked about meal. I mean, obviously I was already meal prepping before, but I was meal prepping a lot more, prepping my foods, weighing my food. That was the biggest thing. I never really weighed my food out. I always just kind of eyeball things, but I had to weigh everything out to a T for every meal, literally. And that's what it takes if you want to do a bodybuilding show. Like you got to be specific, like on the money. You can't give or take here and there. You got to do it on the diet. Whatever he says. If he says 100 grams of rice, you better eat 100 grams of rice. Not 101 and not 99. You eat 100. So you just got to be very specific about it. And that's another thing I learned. I didn't know how specific you needed to be. Like I knew you had to be very strict and very specific, but he didn't. You couldn't be off at all. Like he wanted it on the diet. And I'll give y'all an example. This is something that I just thought this was funny. But when my coach told me this is when I knew he was like serious. He was legit. And I knew that it was very, very strict. So just long story short, I have blueberry trees in my backyard. With that being said, I have a ton of blueberries in my freezer from where we picked them all. Well, my coach had me eating strawberries for breakfast. So instead of buying a bunch of strawberries every time, I was like, well, I need to eat all these blueberries. Let me just ask him, hey, can I swap out the blueberries for these strawberries? And this was his response. He said, I can't remember the exact numbers. He said, strawberries only have eight carbs per serving, and blueberries have 15 carbs per serving. So no, you can't swap them out. I was like, 8 carbs, 15 carbs. That's only like 7 carbs difference. Is it that serious? And he was being for real. Like it's that serious. Like he didn't want me to be off. He didn't want me being off 7 carbs. So if that just gives you an example how strict it is, you gotta be super strict about what you're eating. I just remember that one example that my coach told me, and I was like, when he told me that, I was like, okay, it's that time. Like we're really getting down to crunch time. We're trying to get as lean as possible. So no playing around. The next thing that I learned It's just how to be mentally strong. I went through some battles during this prep. I'm not gonna lie, like it was tough. I got so down mentally that, I mean, I definitely wanted to quit, but I was too far in to quit. Like I wasn't gonna quit. There was no quitting, wasn't an option. Did I want to quit? Yes, but it wasn't an option. Like I was doing it regardless. And some days just sucked. They did, and that was, you just have to be okay with that. Like you have to be okay with knowing that you're not in a good mood. Your day's gonna suck. You have no energy. You don't want to do nothing, and that's just how it was. It was kind of, I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of miserable for a while. So for me, weeks like 5 and 6 and 4 weeks out, like 4, 5, and 6 weeks out, that was the hardest time frame for me. Like I felt miserable during those weeks. I had no energy, did not want to do nothing. I was moody. It was just not a fun time. Like I did not like it. I felt terrible. I couldn't even stay awake at work. Like I would sit at my desk and literally just doze off while I'm trying to work. Like didn't want to do nothing. As soon as I got home, did my second thing of cardio that day, I would literally just sit on the couch and do nothing because I had no energy to do anything else. I didn't want to do anything else. The mental toughness that I built to get up and go work out every day, because not only was I working out, I was doing cardio 2 times a day as well. I was doing 45 minutes on the Stairmaster, and then when I got home, I would do 45 minutes on the incline treadmill. And that was tough. When you have no energy and it's the last thing you want to do is to work out again, it was pretty tough, but I did it. I never missed a workout, never missed a cardio session, never missed a meal, never had a cheat meal. I was the most disciplined I'd ever been in my life was during this period by far, because you just had to, like you had to do it to the T every single time. Anytime I traveled anywhere, I took food with me, meal prep. I took it with me, had a lunchbox, literally everywhere I went. I would take 3 different meals to work every day because I would eat every 3 hours or so, every 2.5, 3 hours. Anytime I went somewhere on the weekend, anytime I went out to eat, I didn't eat. I went to a few restaurants while I was on this prep and literally just sat there with my family and watched them eat. I didn't eat a single thing. Or if I went to any kind of party or into anybody's house to spend the holidays or anything like that, I literally would take my meal prep with me, heat it up in the microwave and eat it, because that's just how it was. That's what you had to do. So being around all that good food, being around all the sweets and not eating any of it, man, it's mentally tough. Like it's challenging. Like it took everything in me, because if you know me, you know I like my sweets. I love ice cream. So it took a lot of discipline, a lot of mental strength for me to kind of not indulge in those. And I ain't gonna lie, I hated it. I did not like not being able to enjoy myself, not be able to eat a little bit of junk food. It was honestly, it was a struggle, but it was one of those struggles of like that you would do it again because it was so rewarding at the end. I mean, I knew I was gonna have to make sacrifices going into it as part of it. Like I knew that no matter what thing I'm training for at the time, I'm gonna have to make some kind of sacrifices. I just didn't realize how hard that one was gonna be, and it was. But you can do it. People have different struggle in different areas, so you may not struggle in this area, and when you do it, it's gonna be a little bit different for everybody. But that was just the biggest part for me. The biggest part for me that I struggled with was the social aspect of a prep, because you don't have any social life. That was the next thing I learned. Like if you're doing a bodybuilding prep, you might as well go ahead and throw your social life out the window. Get rid of it. It's not gonna happen. You can't go out nowhere, because if you do, you gotta take food with you, and you're gonna be around food. You're gonna be tempted to eat other food. Any kind of engagement that you do, there's always food involved. Any kind of get together you have, there's food. Football on Saturdays, there's food. Whatever it is you're doing, holidays, there's food. You can't go out to eat with your friends. Can't go to the bar. Like you can't do none of that. I mean, you can go, you just can't eat nothing. It's gonna be miserable. And once you get deep in a prep, you're not gonna want to go. You're not gonna have no energy to go. You're gonna want to sit at home and rest. Like you're not gonna want to go. I promise you. So just go ahead and throw your social life out the window, because it ain't happening. Another thing that I learned when it came to bodybuilding was how to connect with my muscles more. I know this sounds weird, but I thought I had pretty good mind-muscle connection, and I do when I'm working out. When I'm lifting weights, I do pretty good when I'm lifting weights. I can really feel the lift or the exercise that I'm doing. But what I'm talking about more specifically is posing. So I'd never done any posing before ever in my life. This is the first time I ever did it. So it was very new to me, and it was very hard to me. Like posing was hard. And at first, when I first started, I couldn't connect with my muscles. Like I didn't know how to flex them, like especially my lats. I cannot get my lats to kind of flare out like they're supposed to when you flex. I couldn't do it. It took me forever. I literally had to practice every single day, and I finally figured it out. Finally got it, and I got better. But posing to me was the hardest. Well, I wouldn't say the hardest part. The diet was definitely the hardest part, but posing was probably the second hardest part to me for sure. I definitely underestimated it, because when you're super fatigued and you're tired, posing is literally a workout. Like when I would do my posing sessions, I would do them for like 20 minutes maybe, and I would literally be sweating by the time I got done posing. And I'm posing in the AC, like inside in my house in the AC, just looking in the mirror. I would literally be sweating. It was literally that hard. Sitting there squeezing all your muscles, holding them, trying to pose. It's tough. And honestly, I did not enjoy it. I didn't like doing it. It was the last thing I wanted to do every day, because I would do it at night. Like before I went to bed, I would always do it for a little bit in the mirror just to practice it. I also would do it in the mornings when I do my check-ins with my coach. I would do it too. But after you work out twice a day, doing cardio, and you have no energy, like posing is literally the last thing you want to do. It was miserable. And I know it don't seem that hard if you've never done it. If you've never been in a prep, you're like, oh, that's whatever. Like you're just posing in front of a mirror, you're just flexing a little bit. It's not that hard. Well, it's hard. I promise. Try it. Go to your mirror, hold a pose for 30 seconds as hard as you can, and see how hard it is to hold it. I promise you it's hard. I learned a lot about posing. I got a lot better at it. I admit that, but I'm still nowhere near where I need to be when it comes to posing. But I was brand new to it, and I practiced a lot and got better, but it still got needs a lot of work. But if you practice something every single day, you can get a long ways with it in a short period of time. I only did my prep for like 6 months maybe. So I only started posing for about 6 months, and I got a lot better at it. I learned how to connect with my muscles more for real. Like I can now flare my lats out. I can now feel like my glutes when I pose, because I really struggled with posing my legs. So I couldn't connect with the muscles in my legs. I couldn't get them to flex right, to be defined. And that was something that I really, really had to practice. And I still never really got it down all the way, but I got better at it as I went. Posing alone helps you connect a lot with your muscles. It definitely helps build that mind-muscle connection, which I think kind of also plays into your workouts. So when you're working out, it'll help you feel those workouts even more. Like you'll be able to feel whatever exercise you're doing, the target muscle group that you're targeting, you'll be able to connect with it better, which will give you better results in the end. That was one thing I learned. So I really developed a better mind-muscle connection, especially when it came to posing. So that was a big thing that I learned during my prep. So those are some things that I learned during my training for the prep. Now I want to hop into a few things that I learned during the actual show, like show week, show day, some things that I learned. So first and foremost, I learned a lot about carb loading and water manipulation. So like manipulating the water in your body to make you look more full or to dry you out. There's a lot of science that goes into it. To be honest with you, I really don't know that much about it. I just kind of know what my coach told me to do. So I learned a little bit about it. I'm not going to kind of bore y'all with that, because you can nerd out on it. But if you're interested in it, you can definitely manipulate how much water your body holds, depending on the water intake and dehydrating yourself, carbs, things like that. I'm not gonna get into the weeds of it, but yeah, if you're not familiar with bodybuilding, basically what you'll do is you'll drink a ton of water leading up, like a week out from your show. You'll drink a ton, like 2 gallons a day, and then you'll all of a sudden you won't drink any, like you'll drink a little bit, but this will it'll dry you out, it'll dehydrate you almost, to get that layer of water from under your skin. It'll kind of flush it out, because your body thinks, hey, I got plenty of water coming in from when you drank so much the days before. It'll go ahead and flush that water out. So then you dehydrate yourself, and it makes you look drier. Like I may be saying some of this wrong. Don't quote me on this. I'm not an expert by no means. I'm not trying to act like I am. I'm just telling you what my coach did. I drank like 2 gallons of water leading up to the show, and then like 2 days out, we toned it way back. Like I was drinking like 6 ounces of water at a time. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't a lot. And then we would use coffee. Like I would drink a little bit of coffee to also further that effect. Something with the caffeine in the coffee kind of dries you out. I even use diuretics. Now a lot of people don't recommend diuretics. Some people do. Like I said, just trust your coach. Whatever he tells you to do, that's what I would do. I use them a little bit in mine. To be honest with you, I really don't know what the diuretics do. I think they kind of just dry you out even more. But yeah, that's kind of what I did. So you can really manipulate the way your body looks just by water and the carbs you're eating and stuff too. So that was one thing I learned. I didn't know, like I knew you kind of dehydrated yourself a little bit for these shows, kind of look more lean, but I didn't know what all it entailed. So I didn't know you drank a ton of water and then you toned it back and then you use coffee. And then some coaches will even use alcohol. So like the night before your show, you'll take a shot or two of alcohol, and this will really dry you out even more. I didn't actually do that in mine, but a lot of coaches do. They do use alcohol as well. Another thing I learned during my prep was that there's so many different little adjustments and tweaks that you can make that can make a world of a difference. So I didn't realize this, but you're literally tweaking your physique, you're tweaking your poses, you're tweaking your diet every single day. And sometimes by the hour, like especially when it came to show week, I was checking in with my coach every like 2 to 3 hours. I was checking in with him because he was manipulating the water I was drinking, the food I was eating, he was looking at my posing, seeing like how my posing looked with my body at that time. And it was very, very strict and very, very tedious. Because before I was only checking in like once a week. And then as I got closer to the show, I started checking in twice a week, every other day. And then when it came to show week, I was checking in literally every day. And then, or 2 weeks out, I was checking in like every day. And then show week, I was checking in about the hour. Making little adjustments, last minute adjustments can go a long way. Like they really can. And they can really make or break you on the stage when it comes to show day. The way you get your pump in and the food that you eat before your show can really change the way your physique looks on stage. Even at the pre-judging at the beginning of the day, that's what you do first. Your physique can look way different from pre-judging to the night show when you do your routine. It just depends on how you're eating, how you're manipulating your diet and your water and things like that. So little adjustments go a long way, and you're gonna do it a lot. Like you're probably gonna be checking in with your coach as well, making little tweaks. That goes a long way. So I didn't realize there was that much that went into it. I thought once you got a show day, like that was it. Like you just showed up and your body was already there and you was ready to go. Like you'd already done all the work. So I didn't know you had to still work on show day. Like show day, you're still training on show day pretty much, because you're still manipulating things and doing your pump up the right way and things like that. Another thing when it came to show day that I learned, and this is kind of a funny one, is that your tan is very, very important. I didn't know that. Like I know you always got a tan for bodybuilding shows, but I didn't realize like how important they were and how much they actually can change your physique too. So I'm a very pale skinned person. I'm very white, unfortunately. And the people that do the tan, they know what they're doing. You'll hire a company. They hire a company to come in and use them, and they'll tan you. Well, they saw that I was very pale complected, very fair skin. You'll do like two coats of tan, and then on the show day, you'll do like a glossy layer type deal. I forget what they called it, like a top coat. But I was so white. My coach made me do a pre-tanner, a self-tanner myself the day, like 2 days before. So I did 2 days before I did my own tanner, let it dry overnight. Then the next day I let the spray tanning company coat me. Actually, I put 2 coats on myself. The spray tanning company, they put 2 coats on me the first day. The next day when I went and got my top coat or whatever it is, they put another 2 coats on me. So I went out there, did my pre-judging and all that, showed my coach my pictures, and he was like, hey, you're way too pale. Like, you need to go get another tan. You need to get them to spray you again. So I went up there and talked to them, and they agreed to spray me again. Because when I showed the lady what I looked like, she was like, oh God, yeah, we got to get you another tan. Apparently, so for some reason, the tan was just not sticking to my skin for some reason. And I don't know why. So in between pre-judging and the finals, they sprayed me again, like multiple layers, and I still ended up not being dark enough. So I didn't realize how much the tan actually mattered. I really didn't. But it really can change the way that, like, the position that you place in because you're tan. I didn't realize it was that important, but it is. I didn't know there was that much that went into it. Like those tanning companies, they have it down to a science. Like they know exactly what color coat, like base coat. They know exactly what to put over, and then they put that little top layer on it. So they know what they're doing. If you're going to sign up for a show, I highly recommend just using the people that they hire to do the show. And it's actually, you can actually tell on stage how much less tan I was than my competitors. So like if you look at the pictures, me standing next to some of the people, you can tell they were definitely way darker than I was on stage. And we literally got the same exact tan. And I got way more coats than they did. So it was kind of funny how much of a difference your skin complexion can make when it comes to putting those spray tans on. Also, I learned spray tans do not come off easy. It took me like over 2 weeks to get all that tan off me. It did not come off. I don't know if I was just doing it wrong, but I literally had tan on me for like 2 weeks. That was not fun trying to get all that off. So another cool thing that I learned about bodybuilding is that it's a very supportive sport. Like people, all the people there were very nice, very generous. They all wanted to help me. It was the first time I did one, so I couldn't really help anybody else, but everybody was always willing to help. It was a very cool community to be in. I enjoyed all the people that I got to be around. The show was awesome. The coaches I hired was awesome, because I also hired a coach to help me with my posing. So I actually had 2 coaches. They were both super cool. It's a very unique sport. There's not a lot of people that do it, and there's a reason that not a lot of people do it. It's because it's very, very hard. So just know that anybody that's in the sport, they are very, very disciplined. They are very strict with what they do, and they're just a different type of person. Like, it takes a special kind of person to do these shows week in and week out, because they're tough. So I really liked the support that you get in the group, the camaraderie. It was super, super cool to see everybody rooting you on, cheering you on. Like, yeah, you compete against each other and you want to beat each other, but it's a very kind of friendly sport. So maybe when you get closer to the top, when you're really competing for some money, then it may be getting a little chippy up there. But when you're at the bottom, you're just competing for a trophy. It's all cool. Like, everybody's rooting you on, helping you out. You can ask anybody for help if you need help with your posing, anything like that. Everybody's willing to help. So it was very, very motivating, uplifting community, and I enjoyed my time there. So another thing that I learned at the show, on show day was that I kind of have stage fright a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. When I walked around that stage for the first time, you have all those lights just shining down on you. You can't really see the audience. So literally everybody is looking at you. It's a little nerve-wracking, especially for my first one. I mean, I bet it would get easier as you did more of them, but for my first one, I ain't gonna lie, I was nervous to walk out there. And plus, on top of that, you're in like a little mankini, like you're in a little bikini. Your whole body's exposed. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I felt a little self-conscious out there because I didn't have no clothes on. Basically, I had basically a little thong on. It's not, don't cover you up very well. So if you're very self-conscious, don't do a bodybuilding show, because it will put you out there. Or hey, if you need that to kind of push you to get out of your comfort zone, then maybe that's something you could do. But I ain't gonna lie, I was shredded, super shredded. I looked good. Like, I was proud of my physique, and it's still, even then, walking on that stage, I was still a little self-conscious, had a little stage fright. But as I did in my classes, that kind of went away. Get on that stage by yourself when you do your routine, when literally everybody in the whole crowd is watching you, that can definitely get a little nerve-wracking. I ain't gonna lie, I got a little nervous. So yeah, that was another thing I learned, that hey, maybe I'm not meant for the stage. I don't know. I didn't freak out or anything. I didn't forget my routine. I did everything. I did all my posing, so I did pretty good. I think maybe it was just nerves because it was my first one. I bet if I did another one, it wouldn't be as bad. But yeah, that's something you just gotta think of. Like, hey, if you're gonna do a bodybuilding show, the whole crowd's gonna be looking at you. Like, you're gonna be on stage by yourself doing your routine, or like when you're on there posing against everybody else when you're doing your pose downs and stuff. That one's not as bad because you got other people up there too. But hey, the lights are gonna be shining on you. Everybody in the crowd's gonna be looking at you. So it can be a little nerve-wracking. So just know that going in. That's something that I learned. I guess it's not really something that I thought about before. Like, I knew, hey, I had to wear the posing trunks, but I didn't really think about everybody looking at me until I got on stage. But yeah, that was just something that I experienced on show day. But it wasn't too bad. Everybody knows. Honestly, everybody in the crowd is astonished by you because they see how lean you are and they see how good you look. Because everybody, let's be honest, everybody in the crowd probably don't look like you do. But that's just something that you gotta take into account if you're gonna do it as well. So doing a bodybuilding show has definitely changed my perspective on fitness and health. Well, I've been in fitness for about 11 years now, so I've done it for a while. But bodybuilding just takes it to another level. Like, I was probably here in my fitness journey when I did the bodybuilding show. It took me up a notch. I learned a lot more about nutrition, learned a lot more about working out, and I learned actually about the sport of bodybuilding, because the actual sport of bodybuilding is a lot different than just working out for health. Like, bodybuilding's not healthy at all. So don't let anybody tell you it is. It's a sport. You're literally you're pushing it to the extremes for a sport, but you just have to know that going in. But I learned a lot about the actual sport of bodybuilding. I didn't know anything about it. I never looked into it, never watched it, never did it myself. So I learned a lot, and that was pretty cool. It definitely changed my perspective on fitness, because I learned that you can take fitness too far. Like, you really can't, beyond health. Like, most time you think fitness, you think health, but you can take it past that for sure. I also learned that, hey, a lot of people aren't doing enough. Like, you can go harder, you can push yourself more. You don't need as much food as you think you do. You probably should be eating a little less. Are there a lot of things that bodybuilders do that could benefit you? Yes, definitely. A lot of things they do could definitely benefit you in your life, like just being disciplined, eating healthier foods, working out, exercising. But not everybody needs to take it to that extreme. Literally, the only reason you should take it to that extreme is if you're doing a bodybuilding show. There's literally no other example I could think of when you should take it to that extreme. I mean, yeah, you may have some pictures coming up, photo shoot, your wedding or something, but you should never take it to like a bodybuilding level extreme. Like there's no point in doing it, and it's not healthy. So if you're not stepping on stage, I don't recommend you do it. So do I have any plans for any future competitions? Well, let's be honest. No. Heck no. Not right now. I'm not doing one right now. I don't want to say never, because honestly, I probably will do one in the future. Just knowing me, knowing how I like to challenge myself. But as of right now, I don't see myself doing one anytime soon. It was tough. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life by far. And I literally did an Ironman last year, and I'm training to do a 100-mile ultra marathon right now. And the bodybuilding show was by far the hardest, for sure. Do I think I could do it again? Yeah, absolutely. Now I've done it once, I definitely could do it again. It's just I'm not willing to give up my social life and the things that I like to do for the bodybuilding. Some people do the sport and they love it and they do it all the time, and that's cool. But for me, it was more of a bucket list thing. Like, I wanted to do it once just to say I did it, and I'm fully committed to it. So now that I've done that, I marked it off the bucket list. I don't really see myself going back to doing that. Don't get me wrong, I love lifting weights. I love working out. But I don't think I loved taking it to that extreme. Am I glad I did it? Yes, absolutely. I would never go back and take that away. Like, I'm glad I did it at least once. It was definitely a cool experience. I learned a lot. But I don't think it's something for me necessarily. I don't think it's something I'm going to continue doing. I'm not going to say I'll never do one again, because I probably will at some point in my life. But it's not something I see myself doing a lot. Like, I'm not going to do it as a hobby and keep competing, because I figured out I like to do more of the endurance side of things. So probably go back to more running, things like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to the bucket list and start marking things off. So I'm already working on the next one, working on the 100-mile ultra. That's my next bucket list. I have several more items on there that I want to do. But yeah, I'm glad that I checked this one off the list. It was a very cool experience, but don't just think it's necessarily for me. That's why I said earlier, I got mad respect for bodybuilders. If you do this all the time just for fun, like, hey, shout out to you. You're legit. I respect it, because it's tough, it's hard, and it's definitely not for everybody. But if you're up for a challenge, you want to challenge yourself, go for it. Do it and challenge yourself and go all in. Don't cheat yourself. Do it the right way and go all in. And I promise you, you will be happy. You'll be satisfied. You'll be glad that you did it, because you will learn lessons that will last forever. Like, you'll learn things that you can use in your fitness journey. You can use in your life. The discipline you create, you can literally use that in every aspect of your life forever, and nobody can ever take that away from you. So I highly recommend do it at least once, just to see if you like it. You may not like it, and you may never do one again, and that's okay. But nobody can take it away from you that you did it once. Like, for example, I'm going to take the level of discipline, the level of mental toughness that I gained during this, and I'm going to use that in everything else I do. Like, I'm going to use that in my ultra training, anything else that I try to do. I'm going to use the nutrition tips and hacks that I learned, like the carb load and things like that. I'm already using that in my running right now, because I'm burning a lot of calories, a lot of carbs. So I'm using all that training that I learned for that. And I'm also using the training techniques that I learned and things like that throughout my prep that I learned from my coach. I'm going to take that and use it in my everyday workouts, in my everyday life. So I learned a lot of stuff that's going to last me literally a lifetime, that it just took me like 6 months or so of super strict discipline to learn. And I can take that and use it forever, and nobody can take that from me. So that's what I learned in my first ever bodybuilding show. Let me know down in the comments, have you done a show before? And if you have, what is one piece of advice you would give somebody that wants to do one? So that way people in the comments can learn what to do and what not to do, and they can decide if they want to do it and if it's right for them as well. So that's enough about the bodybuilding show. So if you want to learn so those are some of the lessons that I learned from doing a bodybuilding show. But if you want to hear about the lessons that I learned from doing an Ironman, go ahead, check this video out right here. Go ahead, check this video right here. We'll see y'all in the next one.